Calibrating cybernetics.
Talk to him now.
AT, Andre.
Come on, Dre.
Yep. Trippin with Let's Go. Woo! Trippin with Theobold.
What's your name?
Theo so bold.
Yeah.
Driggity. Let's go. Trippin with Theobold. Trippin.
What are we doing?
Trippin with Theobold.
Come on, Dre.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? And welcome to this episode or this edition of Trippin with Theobold. I'm your host, Andre Theobold. Welcome to the show. Glad you could tune in, or I'm glad you're listening. Before we go any further, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, tell a friend to tell a friend, and do all that fun internet stuff like the old people say. Internet. INNA. You get the point. All right. So, let me go ahead. Like, you guys know how we do over here in Trippin with Theobold land, aka Do It Yourself Productions. We got to start off with the tongue twisties. We got to get the tongue twisties going. So today's tongue twisty is brought to you by the letter W. So let's go ahead and read these off. And as you guys know how we do over here, you can either read along with me or you can watch me struggle. The choice is yours. You always have a choice. But I suggest that you read along with me. So here we go. First tongue twisty, W. Here we go. Walter Whipple warily warned the weary warrior. One more again. Walter Whipple warily warned the weary warrior. Last time. Walter Whipple warily warned the weary warrior. Tongue twisty 2. Willie the Wild Wolf went west for the winter. That really worked out my whole mouth. Pause. Willie the Wild Wolf went west for the winter. Last time, Willie the Wild Wolf went west for the winter. And last tongue twisty, Wilma Wilson wearily warmed the rye walrus. Wilma Wilson wearily warmed the why. I said why. I got to do it again. Wilma Wilson wearily warmed the rye walrus. This is a hard one. Try it with me. Here we go. Last time. Wilma Wilson wearily warmed the rye walrus. And yay, tongue twisties are done. Got those out the way. So as you guys can see up here, I got the special edition episode of 6888, or this is a 6888 centric episode because today's episode ends in an 8, right? Episode 128 ends in an 8. So this is a 6888 centric episode. Before I do that, I got some news. Guys. Got some news. So let me get everything set up. Well, I'm already set up, right? Because if you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. So here it is. Booyah. Who is that? Who is that right there? Yeah. So I recently got thrown up at the Laugh Factory during Chocolate Sundays. So basically what happened is someone didn't show up for their grad spot date, and I did my grad spot, or I did time in their grad spot. Like, my grad spot's not coming up for another month or so. But anyways, I got threw up. Well, not threw up. I got thrown up. I don't like the word thrown up or through, whatever. You guys get the point. Yeah, they threw me up, man. They threw your boy up, man. And I had a good time, man. So shout out to the Chocolate Sunday staff. Basically what happens is, there's a 7:00 show, and then there's a 9:30 show. The 7:00 shows for first impressions, and to get on that wait list is it's at least 7 years now. Last time I checked, I think it's 7 years. So I made it past that. I've been made it past that part. Now I'm in the grad spot phase. So when you do a grad spot, you do 5 minutes. First show, Chocolate Sundays, first impressions, you do 3 minutes. When you graduate, you do 5 minutes. So in the grad spot, you got to do 5 minutes. And then if you graduate from the grad spot, you then make it onto the main show. So I'm trying to make it onto the main show to where I can do more time and get more loose. But yeah, people typically don't drop out of a 9:30 spot because they're more invested because they accomplished something, right? So someone luckily dropped out. And I was in the green room chilling with the rest of the comics, and they were like, Andre, you want to go up? I was like, yeah. They're like, no, we're serious. Do you want to go up? I'm like, yeah. Okay, you're second. So I went up there and I worked on what I've been working on at all the different mics. And yeah, I had fun up there. So these are some more shots right here. That's me acting a fool. And look at your boy, man. Look at your boy. Comfortable. That's what I like to see. Me in the pocket, just comfortable. Being silly old me. All right, that's me right there. And you look at that. Look at that. I'm in my groove. I'm in my zone right there. I'm just being a fool. But anyways, that's that. Enough of that. I don't want to go on too long with this. But what else? That's another shot of me right there. Yeah, I gotta lose some weight a little bit. I'm a little chunky. I gotta drop some of this weight up off me, but your boy's getting there. You know, shout out to the Dr. Sabi diet. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Sabi is, or the diet is getting me there. So that's that. Also, this is the official logo and brand. Gotta know how to point. This is the official brand of my stage name, right? Andre Theobold, AT, right? Logo is dope. You know, it took me some time to work with the designer on it, but shout out to you guys who watched and gave me feedback in the comments on which design to go with. I like this one. It's clean, it's elegant, and like corporations, logos can change over time, right? But hopefully this logo, stays for a long time, right? Because when you rebrand, it's like you kind of have to, retrain the masses on who you are, right? But I like this logo. Thanks for all of you that gave me feedback, and let me know which one y'all wanted to go with, and I like this one. So thank you once again. So this is the official logo of Andre Theobold, AT, me. Next, we got to get it on a mug. Yeah, we got to get it on a mug. So that's gonna be the next thing. Then what else do we got going on here? Also, my hoodie arrived. One of my prototype hoodies arrived, right? When I say prototype, this is just like I'm making one of each, and charity starts at home. You got to get high off your own supply. Like, I'm not gonna be making merch for people just not to see me wear it. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people I see have merch, but they don't really wear their merch like that. They wear it every once in a while. I'm trying to like create a wardrobe, or I'm trying to always have something I can wear to represent me. All right. So this is the Trippin with Theo. This is the Mach 1 or the Mark 1 Trippin with Theobold official hoodie. This is the front. That's the back of the hoodie. So I think I'll probably do a zip hoodie. Then also, this is what I ordered just now. So I got my AT snapback and my AT dad hat. I got to get a Trippin with Theobold snapback and a Trippin with Theobold dad hat. And I want to get an AT hoodie, and I'll probably get a Trippin with Theobold and an AT t-shirt, right? So that way, whenever I'm out, there's no excuse why I'm not representing me, right? Like, I'm not going to be a clown and wear everything. Like, I'm not going to be AT'd or I'm not going to be AT'd or Trippin with Theobold all the way down to the socks. But every time I step out the house, man, I got to have something on that says that represents me and my brand. So your boy is growing slowly but surely, right? So the goal for this year was to get prototype merch. I need to get a Trippin with Theobold mug, and I need to get a Trippin with Theobold. I need to get a Trippin with Theobold mug and an AT mug. All right. and I'm just gonna keep wearing it, because you have to. I believe when it comes to branding, and representing yourself, you always have to make sure that your image or your logo or your brand stays on people's minds. You know what I'm saying? So, um, by the end of this year, I'm gonna have all my prototype stuff done. I'm really probably by the end of the month, maybe next month, I'm gonna have all my prototype merch that I'm gonna be wearing like throughout the rest of the year, and then towards the end of the year, next year, God willing, I'm gonna work on distribution. Like getting with a distributor and being able to, push my merch. So that's that. Okay. So before we go any further, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and tell a friend to tell a friend, and do all that fun internet stuff, like the old people say. Tongue twisties are done. Now we can get into the crux of the show. So, so here we are. So, I just finished reading I think it's the fourth chapter of One Woman's Army. It's basically it's basically a memoir of Major Charity Adams' experience in the WAC, or the Women's Army Corps, or the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps. My grandma would always make sure she got that right. But basically, this takes place from July 20th to August 28th, 1942. So like a little more than a month. So the title of today's episode is The Importance of a Regiment, right? So when I read this chapter, that's what inspired me to name this podcast, right? It's about having a regiment, Like when I was young, whether I liked it or not, I had a regiment. When it came to school, I had to get up at a certain time. I had to eat, and then I had to go sit on the top step and wait for my pop or my mom to, come out in their little bathrobe or in a little sweatsuit and drop me to school, And then in school we had, the bells rang at a certain time. You had to be in class by a certain time. Then you came in, I had home, like everything was really structured, And then when I went to football camp and basketball camps, everything was real strict. Like there was a strict regiment, Then when you got to college, really it was, you were so used to what you did in high school that you kind of kept that regiment, or you created a regiment to get things done. So when you once you get out of school and academia, it's like it's easy to fall off. It's easy to fall off and kind of just get by. And when you just get by, you're not as effective, you're not as efficient. So today's episode, or today's chapter, like when I read this chapter, it just made me see the importance of having a regiment, So basically, this chapter, basically she outlines all of the details of all the uniforms they had to get, right? Like they had to get measured and they had to get suited for different uniforms, and they had to know how to respond to or know how to refer to each uniform, because they had to wear certain uniforms at certain times of the day. They had to get measured for shoes or their boots. And I saw my grandma's boots, because I think my grandma had the same boots because they all got issued the same boots, right? So there was a photo in the book that I saw where they actually had a full shot of the uniform, or one of the uniforms, and I saw my grandma's boots, So basically the whole book just outlines how they had to, like, from getting all their equipment and getting all their uniforms to actually getting into formation and getting into doing all the classes and having a regiment for matriculating through the whole process. So one thing I thought that was funny was Major Charity Adams, or Major Adams, mentioned the making of a military bed. Like when they were there, they had to learn how to make a military bed. And my grandma learned that shit from there. Can I cuss shit? I can cuss. My grandma learned how to make that bed there because when I was a youngin', every morning I got up to go to the Boys and Girls Club, right? Because that was like my thing in the summertime when I was in Buffalo. My grandma got me involved with the Maston Boys and Girls Club. Man, shout out to the Maston Boys and Girls Club of Buffalo, New York. And I remember my grandma taught me, from early on, she taught me how to make this bed tight, man. Like you had to do the shit with the karate chop under the pillow. That's how that's like part of the military, making a military bed, And my grandma was always like she would show me, and then I would get up and try it in the morning, and then I would come back and it would be remade because I didn't do it right. Like that's how strict my grandma was with making with making the bed. Come on, Dre. That's how strict my grandma was with making the bed, Like you had to get that pillow chopped. You had to get the blanket chopped under that pillow and get it tight. And I remember one morning I got it right, and my grandma came in and was like, "Oh, see, you did a good job." Huh? And then she went around and started to like tug at sheets and tug stuff around. She got it adjusted the way it needed to be. But anyways, when you get up and make your bed, that's like, there's a book out. It's called like How to Make Your Bed or Start Your Day Off by Making Your Bed. And it just basically, when you do that, you've accomplished one thing right when you wake up. So now your mind is like geared different to where now it's like, okay, well, if I can do that, I can go ahead and get something else done. And then you subconsciously get in this mindset of just knocking out tasks, So basically, throughout the chapter, she was just outlining how they were in school again, like they had to go through and learn different military jargon. They had to learn how to like read maps. They had to learn how to like, label their stuff, iron their clothes, and how to get ready for inspection in the morning when they woke up. They had to learn what all the bugle calls meant. I didn't even realize that they're different bugle calls, right? So if you hear a certain bugle tune, that means that it's time for this thing to happen, And then another thing too was property accountability, right? That was the word she used, property accountability. So when you're in the military, you have to learn how to like keep track of your shit, So my grandma was always big on that, man. Like anytime I went to the boys club, anytime I had to bring something that I had to change into, she always like labeled my shit on the back, or she would mark it in a certain way on the back. She was very meticulous about that. So I think my grandma got that from her military training, and I can see that based off of what Major Adam said. The one thing that stuck out in this chapter that to me was funny, man, was Major Adam started off weak, man. She was a weakling when she first started, man. Like how she can only do 7 push-ups. She 120. She said she struggled. She said she couldn't do 7 push-ups without falling over. I'm like, man, that's crazy. That's just wild, man. Like I could bang out 100. Like, okay, enough of that. I'm just being silly. But I thought I just kind of laughed out loud when I read that, And then the whole thing about, getting up in the whole inspection thing, that kind of made me think about my Temple University track days, right? When I was on the track team. Now, nobody came to inspect my room. My room was a mess in college, and my room now, yeah, I need to get back on my regiment, right? Because I think that I think having a regiment spills over into other parts of your life, But the going to bed and the wake up call, that reminded me of my track days at Temple because, when I was on the track team, like I basically went to bed with my track stuff on because track practice for us started you had to be there at 5:00 in the morning. And then I think he did roll at like 5:15. And if you miss roll call, you could still practice, but you weren't allowed to compete at the next track event. So that was the way how he kept us coming to practice, and coming on time. So I remember I would go to I would have my like my track I would have on like my track stretch pants or whatever you call them, my I don't know what you call them, but like my stretch pants, and then I would have like my sweatpants on top of that, and then I'd have my hoodie on top of that, have my socks on. I'd have everything except my shoes. My shoes would be by the door. And then my hoodie and stuff. My hat or my knit hat, because it'll be cold in the morning, right? So I'd have my knit hat, my scully, all that stuff on top of my shoes. And I would literally roll out of bed and then just go to practice. Like I would be literally like sleepwalking to practice, because I knew if you get up and you have to take time to get dressed, it's just when you have to get up early and be somewhere on time, man, the clock turns into Nintendo seconds. It's like everything you put on, like if you have to put on socks, like you'll see a minute just go off the clock like nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I just had everything on. So when I got up, I just would brush my teeth and just roll out to practice. But that was the whole thing, right? Was having that regiment helped me helped instill in me, being on time for meetings, and when it's time to go to work, it's like you're not trying to do too much before it's time to go, So then what else, man? She mentioned inspections, right? So like I said, in college, we didn't have any inspections in college, but when I was at Camp Blue Ridge, we used to have to get up and have our room inspected, make sure our room was neat. We had to clean, make sure the bathroom was clean, make sure the shower was clean. Everything had to be orderly, so that kind of like resonated with me, and then what else was interesting about this chapter that I read? She was talking about marching and I wonder why they did that. They had the tallest people or the tallest personnel march in the front, and then the shortest personnel would march in the back, so the shorter people would struggle to keep up because their stride lengths weren't as long as the taller people, and they would have to sometimes run to catch up, and my grandma was short. My grandma was probably 5 foot, if that. So I know she was in the back or towards the back, and she was probably one of the people back there jogging to keep up, because actually my grandma could march pretty fast. Like she could walk fast. So my grandma probably knew how to walk to keep pace, One thing I read that was interesting about that chapter was during like this period when they were in OCS, right? It's called Officer Candidate School. That's where they were at. Officer Candidate School in Des Moines, Iowa. One thing that I realized that was interesting was she said there was only one racial incident, which to me was like mind-boggling, right? Because they already segregated everything, but she said that there was only one. Major Adams said there was only one racial incident, and basically the incident was they had to do some exercise where they had to clean out their mask, some kind of I think they had to clean out their gas mask, and however the procedure was, they had to use the same rag as someone else next to them. And there was a white cadet or like a white officer in training or whatever that just yelled out like, "I'm not going to use a rag after a Negro," and then everyone kind of paused and just ignored it and kept on going back to what they were doing. So it was interesting how, what's interesting, that to me kind of told me a lot. Like to me, that kind of tells me that when it comes time to when you're in a time of war and it comes time to serve the greater good, white folk know how to put racism aside, well, not put it aside, but they know how to table it for later, because they're not about to lose the whole country because people want to be stupid about being racist. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that was interesting how none of the other white cadets or female officers got on code and made us think about it. It was kind of like, yo, deal with it or get the fuck on, you know? So that was pretty interesting. And then and I kind of want to like, wrap up or end on this a little bit, but basically the end of the chapter basically this kind of proves the importance of like having a regiment, right? So um basically Major Adams was in charge of leading like the marches or whatever in the end or at the end of this chapter. And she said that there's all these commands you have to, like when you're leading a march, you have to like know all these commands to get the troops or the people following you to follow suit and to know where to end up, right? And they're your responsibility. So there was a situation where they had to like march around this area of like circular grass that was like sacred and they couldn't step on it, but there was no command for that. So she had to improvise a command to get them to like swing around to not touch the grass. So she just made up a command, that all of the people following her or all of the soldiers following her were able to follow. But then I guess the drill sergeant or whoever was in charge kind of like called her out for like, hey, that's not a proper command, So then she had to come back around later in her later years and make sure that she updated the code or the rule book or the marching manual to make sure that it accounted for situations like that. So this is the importance of having a regimen, right? Like when you have a regimen, what it does is it reinforces structure and discipline. But at the same time, when you have too much structure or when you have too much structure or your regimen is too strict, it doesn't allow for slight improvisations, So let me give you an example. So I played basketball when I was in high school. I was on the JV team. I was on the freshman and JV team in my high school team. And the one thing I struggle with, and I still to this day I struggle. Well, I don't play hoops anymore because I'm too old for that shit. Like I gave that up. But the one thing I struggle with in basketball was like running a play. Like when you run a play, I've seen coaches that are successful that run play that are successful in teaching players how to run plays. When they make the players run the play without the ball and they get what the objective is, and when you have a play and you follow it to the T, like it's easy to run a play in practice when there's no one on you, but when you have people on you that are defending you, you're not going to be able to always get to that block. You're not always going to be able to, or you're not going to be able to set the screen where you need to set the screen at, or you're not going to be able to go around where you think you should be able to go around at, right? So when the more you run a play, and I think this is like just constructive criticism of my old coaches, but they would have us run the play while dribbling the ball. And when you're dribbling the ball, it's like you're more worried about losing the ball and turning the ball over as opposed to just knowing the flow of the offense, right? So successful coaches, I think, teach their players without a ball. Like you can do ball handling skills on your own at home, but when you want to know how to move as a unit, you have to like just constantly and repetitively nail that in and just drive that home, But in Major Cherry Adams' case, they did these drill calls like all day, every day, and it became second nature. But then it came to the point where she had to make a last minute judgment call, and everyone kind of knew what to do, because they got the principles of marching or they got the gist of what it was they were doing. I'm not sure if that made any sense, but I think it makes sense. Yeah, it's basically when you have a regiment and when you have structure, that allows for slight improvisations down the road, right? But if you don't have any structure and then you want people to do something that they should have already been doing, but do it a little different, it's not going to work out. It's always going to be a mess, you know? So, that's the importance of a regiment, right? Like it's important to have structure, but to allow like 10% of that structure to be flexible so you can account for things that might not have been accounted for, you know? So very interesting chapter. Like I said, I see where my grandma got her bed making skills from. I see where she gets her property accountability, AKA labeling her shit, from. I see where she got all that from. So yeah, if you guys have any more information on that, you know, if you guys were in the military, or if you got some comments, if you want to troll, if you got some questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section. You know what I'm saying? Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm curious, you know? But once again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, tell a friend to tell a friend, and do all that fun internet stuff like the old people say. And until next time, ba-deep, 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 ba-deep. I'm out here, folks. Peace. Yep. Trippin' with Theobold.
Let's go.
Caliente.
Trippin', trippin', trippin'. Yep. Trippin'. Trippin'. Trippin' with Theobold.
Trippin' with Theobold.